Greetings again, YouTube! Welcome back to part 2 of my top 10 Atari 2600 video games of all time, where I'll show you a few honorable mentions and my number one game. Alright, so a couple of honorable mentions to get out of the way first, in no particular order. Beam Rider by Activision. It was a great shooter. Really not a lot to say about it. It was kind of on rails because there's only 5 lanes you can be in while you're doing the shooting bits. And, you know, it's just, as you go on every other level, it throws more and more weird stuff at you. So, I mean, there's like, 8 or 9 different enemy types, and if you can actually make it through what is apparently 99 levels of this game to the ending, you are boss. Did I ever? Nope. And I tried for several hours in a sitting. It is a long damn game if you think you're going to beat it, but either way, Beam Rider. Next item up for bid, we're going to talk about Ghostbusters. On the 2600, anyway, Ghostbusters was never a really good game, to be honest with you, especially if you've seen, like, AVGN's review of the old Nintendo game. But in the Atari game, it's not exactly better, but at the same time, considering the complexity of the game they were able to knock out on a 4-bit system with very little cartridge space and very little graphics capability, they actually did a pretty good job putting out something of kind of a strategy-esque game, I guess you could say. There isn't a hell of a lot to do, and it does get repetitive, but with the ongoing background music, being very few games at the era that can actually do continuous background music, even if it was pretty bad, it was still kind of breathtaking at what they were actually capable of pulling off with Ghostbusters. So, yeah, Ghostbusters. Another honorable mention, again in no particular order, Superman. This is probably the first game I ever played when I was a kid. Although, at least it's the first one I can remember, but others have sworn to me that Miss Pac-Man was the first game I put my hands on. But anyway, Superman is an easy game, to be honest with you. There's not a lot to it, as long as you know what you're doing. Some gamers, they pick it up and immediately dismiss it as being a bad game, but no, you've got to rescue, you've got to repair this bridge, find the 3 pieces, put them back, you've got to find the 5 criminals plus Lex Luthor that have broken out of jail, get them back in. You've got a bit of a laundry list of stuff to do, but honestly, it's pretty fun doing it. Being as you're Superman, and you can't really die, and you can fly around, and use your X-ray vision to spot where the screens are, I thought it was fun. I liked it because it was a game that you could actually beat, and of course the idea is, with the timer up in the corner, your score was essentially a speed run. So this game was designed for what is a current fad of speed running in mind. Anyway, that's Superman. Another honorable mention is Krull. This is a movie tie-in. Classic 80s movie that, many may or may not have forgotten. I rather enjoyed the movie. But what about the video game? Well, the video game's kind of a collection of mini-games here. The first stage, you've got this kind of slashing shooter-ish thing where you're running around trying to kill enemies. Basically, it's just designed to go on until you finally let someone get to your bride and move on to the second stage, which is the spider's lair, the classic scene from the movie, where you get to the Spider Queen herself, and she shows you what direction to go, where to go, right? And then it ends with this really great kind of Breakout-esque style game, where you're up against the Beast, and you can't let him just kill you with his fireballs, and you don't want him to catch the glaive, which you also have in limited supply. So, it does 3 games fairly well, and they do have relations to each other as to how they play out. Krull, what can I say? Decent game for what it could do. And also I want to talk about Joust. Joust is another great game on the 2600. It really, I don't know, graphically I was disappointed with what Joust looked like. But that's getting picky. Because honestly, it plays a lot like the original arcade game, even if it doesn't look as much like it as it could. So, really, if you could get past the fact that the visuals on Joust seem a little bit on the lackluster side, the gameplay's all there. It's a really good rendition of the arcade game, if you can get past the lackluster visuals. And then to be truthful, if you're talking about the Atari 2600 generation, you better be able to get past the visuals anyway. Because in 4-bit graphics, there wasn't a hell of a lot to look forward to. Joust. Now, my number one favorite Atari 2600 game of all time. Ladies and gentlemen, Pitfall 2. That's right, Pitfall 2: The Lost Caverns. And I have a lot of memories behind this one here. This is, despite this being a playthrough, this is a post-commentary. Mostly just because for formatting this video, it just seemed easier to do with all the other videos, snippets of games I want to throw in it. But I am sort of capable of speedrunning it, but I haven't played Pitfall 2 in quite a while now, so you're going to see a couple of flub-ups here. Really stupid mistakes here too, but it's still going to be a relatively short play, because I do have it down by now. When I was very young, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, I used to hate my brother playing this, because, he wasn't very good at Pitfall 2, so it could take him anywhere from, 20 minutes to an hour. And in Pitfall 2, unlike the first Pitfall game, which, I guess I could have honorable mentioned, but nah. In Pitfall 2, you can't really lose the game, but it can damn sure make itself hard to win, too. Every time you take damage, instead of, dying and losing a life like you do in the original Pitfall, then you go back to the last cross you touched. Basically, you lose points on the way back, so kind of digging into speedrun times and making score. So Richard, God bless his soul, he could be at this for anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours trying to get a playthrough. So I knew it was going to be my turn to play a video game for quite a while. I used to complain about that so much. But anyhow, Pitfall 2 was a really massive project given the capabilities of the system it was produced for. Pitfall 2, it is 8 screens wide by 8 screens deep, if I remember the stats. It's a persistent dungeon, kind of like, modern day Metroid and stuff like that. And there are 4 things that you absolutely have to collect before you get out. There's a ring, there's your kid, a rat, and your dog. And everything else you collect is optional for points. Oops. Well, I guess I'm still alright. Alright. So, anyway. No, it's a bit of a rough memory for me, because it was about a year ago that I found out that my brother had passed away. So if ever it's a time for me to stand on a soapbox, I'm actually going to use this opportunity. Kids, I've never had a thing against drugs and drug use. I've never done them myself, but I will say I've always been a man that believes if you can't control something, if something controls you, then you shouldn't do it. And for being a man that basically helped make me who I am, helped kind of define what it is to be a man in my life, it was difficult for me to find out that my own blood brother, 7 years older than me, passed away to a drug overdose. I'm not going to say much more about the subject because not more was really known about it at the time. But I am going to say that I am even more partial now to Pitfall 2 than I ever was before, just because of the fact that it's a really strong memory I have of my beloved brother. So maybe that skews me a little bit when I choose this to be my favorite Atari 2600 game of all time. Maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said it didn't at all. But it's not just for him, though. Because, as time went by and I got older and became more mature, I started appreciating what the game was for my own self as well. And for what it is a fantastic platformer in an era where Super Mario Brothers and Sonic the Hedgehog and games like that didn't exist. And there were some really complex elements going on, like right here. I'm in this balloon hallway, where, it might not seem like much to a modern gamer, but this was just like an unnecessary touch that was that added a really nice and interesting element to the game. So, shit, taking another death. Told you there'd be some stupid mistakes. You have no attacks, so every peril and every danger has to be something you figure out how to avoid, like running underneath the bats and the buzzards, and learning just not to hit the jumping over the scorpions just right, learning not to hit the frogs, learning where everything is in the dungeon. Again, it's not nearly as large or complicated as Metroid or its ilk, but I don't know, Pitfall 2 just did a lot of things way ahead of its time. And to this day, I still absolutely love it, and I still try to, sometimes I screw around with it like I am in this particular run because of, lack of experience, the lack of recent experience. And so sometimes I actually try to go for a speed run. So in sometime in the near future, maybe I will try to post an actual serious speed run of Pitfall 2. I don't know. For the time being, I'm just gonna, continue commenting as I bumble through this crap run. So yeah. Anyway, I'll also try not to soapbox too much more about lost love or lost loves and family and stuff like that. But anyhow, so something else that was unique about Pitfall 2 for its time. The background music. Just, listen to the music that plays in this game. Nintendo generation and modern generation gamers, big deal, right? We have to understand, the Atari 2600 didn't have the ability to produce this kind of music. Activision had to produce a custom chip just to be able to deliver the background music in this game. And though it might not sound like a heck of a lot, the fact that there is any background music at all is an impressive display of what Activision could really push the 2600 hardware to do. That and the fact that, well, besides the music in Mega Man 2, the very short background music in Pitfall 2 is actually amongst my favorite video game music of all time. It's really catchy. It's got kind of that Indiana Jones adventure feeling to it, and it's like every time you grab a treasure, the music itself goes to this exciting crescendo where it's playing really fast and you're all excited. And after you haven't picked up anything for a while, it goes to this lull but calmer, kind of relaxing style of music. You die, and you get this kind of the same song in minor keys to kind of reflect the oh no atmosphere of damn, you just died. Granted, it gets near the end of the dungeon, like this particular stretch I'm on right now, and it starts getting really repetitive. You're doing a lot of the same stuff over and over, and well, it's kind of easy to mess up around here too. I believe I'm going to end up taking another death here right up in a little bit. Something really stupid too. Excuse me, like I said before, I've still got this stupid Washington bronchitis bug, but I'm working with what I got. So, oh yeah, cross, needed that, yeah. So, yeah, I'm almost through the dungeon here, and I don't know, there isn't really a heck of a lot more to say about it. Richard and I used to watch him play it eventually, I don't know, I sucked at it in the beginning. He could try it for hours. I actually spent, when I was, I think, 5 or 6, just to see what he saw in this game, I spent like a 6-hour stint trying to complete this, and God bless my tiny little hands, I couldn't do it. But, of course, I just grilled at it until eventually I beat it, and, it just friggin' happened someday. Oh, yeah, there was this, I know the Activision used to have like a high score club, I forget what they called it. Every different game, you'd send in a screenshot of your final score, and if you made a certain score or more, then they'd send you like a coat patch and a little cool little tidbits, kind of a fan club measure. If you were, okay, and here it is. Now I'm like on the very end of it, and I get stupid against this frog right here. Because here I thought I was clear, but damn, there goes some hard work right there, right at the end. Epic fail. No. Anyway. So with Pitfall 2, there was a score. I think they wanted you to beat like 120,000 or was it 200,000? I don't remember how many points that they wanted you to make. It was difficult. And I know Richard used to be able to make that score regularly. We just never had a camera or a TV with good enough quality to get a good enough screenshot to actually send them the picture and get him into the club or anything like that. So, what have you. I don't think I ever bothered making a qualifying score because, unlike him, I didn't have it memorized exactly where every last brick of gold was. So even after all these years of playing the game, I still don't generally go after everything. I guess I'm a lazy completionist, if a completionist at all, which I am not. I've never been one that plugs into a video game and tries to get every last achievement and every last little secret and everything explored. Don't ask me what I do try to do when I play, but anyway. Yeah, so I don't even remember what they handed. I think it was just patches and stuff. It wasn't the cool stuff they handed out with like the Sword Quest series games, with their like solid gold and diamond encrusted sword and crown and stuff for being able to take the grand prizes for those or anything. But well, Sword Quest sucked anyway, you know. Basically an effort to sell video games by having a grand prize, you know, and in the end that never went anywhere anyway. What was it? I think Nolan Bushnell still has most of the gear that was supposed to be handed out for that one. Anyways, there we go, I'm done. I picked up the rat, I picked up the dog, and do my little happy dance. My run through Pitfall here is complete, as is my run down the Atari 2600 memory lane. So I hope you guys enjoyed my top 10 favorite Atari 2600 games. Please thumbs up, subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching.